Alright, so I'm doing another video where we're taking a look at interview questions and answers and just deep cuts and basically the inner workings of the One Punch Man series and lesser known facts that you might have not known. So last time we looked at what Murata, the artist of the One Punch Man manga, had to say about things, but this time we're taking a look at what One, the creator of One Punch Man, has to say. So that means that things are going to be way more definitive this time around. And just like before, there's a lot of fun and super interesting stuff in this one, so let's get into it. What did Saitama do before he became jobless? He was working part-time in a convenience store. So this is very interesting, but at the same time kind of expected, because what were you really thinking that Saitama was doing? Nothing really special, kind of just doing a standard job. And it makes sense, but also just it's interesting getting any insight into the history or the past of Saitama, considering that we don't really know anything. The only time that we see Saitama in the past is like in that flashback against Crablante, when he's training, of course, to remove his limiter. The few brief glimpses we get into that, sometimes in the bonus chapters. And then the other bonus chapter, 200 Yen, when we see what he was like in middle school for a little bit. But outside of that, it's a complete mystery. We also don't know anything about his family or anything like that. But I guess it kind of makes sense because Saitama's not special. Before he became who he is now. But there's nothing really significant to him. So I guess it doesn't really make sense to focus on his past. More so just his future and present. How did Saitama make a living before he became a pro hero? By living very frugally with his savings. So another interesting look into what Saitama was doing before he met him in the story. So I guess he had some savings, and I assume this came from his time working in the convenience store, and we could also assume that this wasn't a lot of savings, maybe a few $100, maybe like $1,000 or two, just taking a guess. And we also know that he is squatting in the current apartment that he has in Z City, probably likely before, it became a ghost town, but now it's kind of just like nobody cares, so he could just live there no problems. I don't know what the squatting laws are like in Japan, but maybe in the world of One Punch Man they're very lenient. But yeah, this is it. Saitama just kind of lives rent-free and penny pinches with his groceries and other amenities that he has, at least before becoming a pro hero. Sonic, with a weapon, could have defeated Sea King pre-Rain form. So yeah, this clears this up, and I've talked about this before, but I just wanted to reiterate it in this video because it is coming from the mouth of One, that Sonic, when he went against Dry Deep Sea King, he was kind of just in his prison attire, he didn't have any gear with him. And, the fight was not really that competitive. He was just able to land standard physical strikes, but they didn't do much. But, yeah, apparently if he did have his weapons, he would have taken him out. But he doesn't say his, hydrated Rain form. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe Sonic just isn't capable of defeating that version, even with weapons. A fight between Genos and Sonic is inconclusive. So I assume he's talking about the fight that we see in the beginning of Season 2. Maybe it's just like either or would have won whoever was better on that day, or maybe at that point in the story they're very even in power, possibly. Deep Sea, Sky, and Subterranean Kings are around the same level, so this is very interesting as well. So we have an insight into how strong Deep Sea King is, but not so much with the Sky and the Subterranean ones. Like the Sky guy, we just see him for like a brief moment when he attacks the Hero Association, and then Melzergard low diffs him. And then the Subterranean King, the dream version is a whole different story. But in reality, he looks way less imposing and he just gets stepped on by Saitama. But apparently he's just as strong as at least the Dry Deep Sea King that we saw. He doesn't say specifically what level, but I guess we could just assume at least dry, because he would have said, hydrated to give it more emphasis. But still, they're pretty formidable. I mean, they are demons, so they're S-class level. While the most popular one in their world is Sweet Mask, King is rather high up as well. So what he's saying here is that My Mask is the most popular hero in the world of One Punch Man, and we all kind of knew that because it's heavily implied throughout. But then he's also saying King is rather high up. So maybe this means that King is number 2 or number 3 in terms of popularity in that world. And it makes sense because, he is king after all, and he's held in extremely high regard by virtually everyone, good or bad. What inspired you to draw a bald, average-looking superhero like Saitama? The world is full of cool-looking heroes, so I didn't think that was something I wanted to write about. Plus, I believe that heroes' coolness comes from their spirit and not their looks. I don't think how a hero looks is that important. If Saitama wasn't there, the damage done by Marogori, Beefcake, will increase and his disaster level will be upgraded to Dragon. So, in case you didn't know, I mean, it's like glanced over for a little bit, but Beefcake is originally classified as a demon by the Hero Association. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the choice that one wanted for this scene, but it's very funny because like Beefcake is immediately established to be gigantic, and the damage that he does is like wiping away portions of a city. This is way more than what any demon is capable of. So either this was just a miscalculation by the Hero Association, which is, expanded upon in the bonus chapter disaster level, that sometimes it's not always clear cut and they do make mistakes and exaggerations, and sometimes they undersell disaster levels. But in this case, he is clarifying that Beefcake is for sure Dragon. I mean, in case you just needed a clarification. The origin of Boros' name is from a game one played. So I couldn't find what this game was, but interesting, I guess. There was a lot of heroes and monsters in the anime, talking about One Punch Man. What is your favorite character? I think my favorite after all is Saitama. That makes sense. Besides that, my favorite hero is King. Very cool. And my favorite monster is the Deep Sea King. Especially when the Deep Sea King became larger in the story, it was very fun to draw it. Genos is rather powerful, even among the S-class heroes. So this is some nice respect that one is putting on Genos' name here. I mean, we kind of knew that he was stronger than like Puri Puri Prisoner and Tank Top Master and Zombie Man and guys like that, but one is kind of just reinforcing it here that while he does lose a lot, he is still pretty powerful despite all of his shortcomings. King's height is 187 centimeters, which is also 6'1". So yeah, King is no manlet, as we all kind of expected, but I'm sure like when people see King and the spell takes over, I'm sure they perceive him to be like 7 feet tall or something. The situation against the Monster Association would have changed if Metal Bat was around. Metal Bat wasn't joking when he said he could take care of a dragon level threat. This is awesome. I love that one went out of his way to say this, because it's like, yeah, Metal Bat doesn't have the best wins right now, but it's more so the potential that he has. And I just love that it's like, yeah, if he were to go against a Cadre, he probably would have beaten at least one of them. Mob against Tatsumaki is usually Tatsumaki, but if he gets serious, I am not sure. So as we know, One is also the creator of Mob Psycho 100. He's very talented, obviously. But a lot of the comparisons that are made between these two series are, of course, Mob and Tatsumaki, considering they have a very similar set of powers. And what he's saying here is, if he gets serious, then he's not sure who would win. And that's ambiguous, because if Mob is getting serious, does it mean he's going 100%? Or is he going, like, the question mark percentage? But either way, I feel that even at 100%, Mob could give Tatsumaki a pretty competitive fight, especially compared to the other opponents that she's had thus far. But when Mob Psycho 100 Season 3 comes around, I'm definitely going to make a video on this topic, so look out for that whenever that comes. Puri Puri Prisoner could have defeated the giant crow that crashed into King's home. So that's cool. I mean, he is a demon after all, but it's just nice to know that Prisoner could have taken care of him. He would have been one of the biggest, if not the biggest opponents that we've seen Puri Puri Prisoner hypothetically take on. When I was in my teens, I drew Sunman, Taio Man, on a blank sheet of copy paper and uploaded it on a small homepage. I made the last boss too strong and couldn't defeat it before I disbanded the homepage. So this is where One got the idea for Boros, actually. Boros is more or less the final boss that he's talking about, and he brought him over to One Punch Man for Saitama to defeat him, funny enough. And he says that this happened 20 years ago at another interview or something, but also it lines up with Boros taking 20 years to get to Earth from wherever he came from after he talked to that fortune teller alien dude. So it's kind of cool how this all lines up. So let's cap off this video with how One met Murata and how we got the One Punch Man manga that we all love today. So One says that Murata sensei just happened to find my website and became interested in One Punch Man. I had always been a fan of his, so I jumped at the opportunity to work with him. I get really excited seeing my artwork transformed into something with so much passion and amazing art. So yeah, that's it. It just happened by chance and luck. And this is pretty awesome because it's like, you know, why not? Just things like this just tend to happen sometimes, and it all turned out for the best, even to everyone's benefit, not just their own. I'm even going to supply you with the original tweet that Murata sent to one way back in 2011. So yeah, it just so happens that one of the best mangakas today, pretty much of all time in Murata, just so happened to like one of the viral webcomics in One Punch Man, and the rest is history. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you thought about all these interesting little tidbits, and I hope you had some fun and entertainment out of this. And if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.